Hey guys, it's Matt. I don't think I've ever done a dedicated video on this very important topic. This is an absolute major part of part two, the work. I guess we've mentioned in passing from time to time. I don't know, it's so simple. The principles, I think, of this reality, once you can clear through all the haze and the noise, are so simple. I'm not sure how long this first part will go. There are some comments I might want to address from the last video. For example, somebody believed that Harlan Ellison really did come across Roy Disney on his first day of work, and Roy just happened to overhear him talking about cartoon characters and pornography and animated porno. I don't buy any of that. Well, there's a lot of comments that we could have a lot of fun with, and there's a lot of other things to address. For example, the number one news story today is what do you think it is? Same as yesterday, same as the day before. The Epstein-Steiner file. So there's a lot to do. This first section though is let's for a change be very reciteer. And as soon as I start talking, here she comes. Let's just for a change be reciteer to start. Okay. One of the main principles of part two of the work is every day you have to determine what part of yourself is the true self and what part of the self is the false self that this world has created over time. Now, is this the shadow work horseshit they talk about? I think that what I'm going to talk about is probably a similar principle to shadow work, but I don't know what this horseshit is called shadow work. I've come across it from time to time. Just speak plainly, people. You'll see how simple, and then get to it. If it's so simple, get to it. We think that this is Matt, right? This is us. This is what we are. No. What we are in most people, and me included, and everybody, is muddied up with a whole segment that is not really you. Now, I don't know what the percentages are. I don't know if it's 50-50. For example, we all know that the ego and the desires of the lust desires of lust and the ridiculous things most people are willing to go through to satisfy a desire of lust. And we all know that deep down that's not us, right? So it's very simple. One of the main things to do in this life, in this existence, is to, whether it be 10%, 15% of whatever you are now, to filter out all the noise and to get in touch every day in almost every decision with the genuine you versus the false you. You could even start with our thoughts. When I was covering Carl Jung, the part I remember the most is the Philemon part. His fake friend. They would walk, they'd walk through the park and the garden. Him and Jung and Philemon. And I remember the part that stood out to me, and I'll never forget, is when I was reading these works of Jung, which we did a video on. Philemon said, "You think those thoughts are yours? No, they're not yours. Well, many are, but many aren't." Philemon was right. Matt, is he over there? What are you looking over there for? No, there's nothing over there. Sorry. You think those thoughts are your own? Many thoughts that just pop up that, some are a little strange, a little sick. Like, I thought, why would I just think that? I would never want to bring harm to this. Or many come from, who knows where. Some would say some here would say it come from a demonic, let's just keep it simple. It comes from the false self. Is the false self influenced by, if you're a Christian, Satan or a demon? Okay, we could go into the weeds on that. It doesn't matter. Ultimately, we're in charge, not whatever that outside influence is, whatever may exist. We're in charge. Do you feel in charge? Not whatever else. It doesn't matter. We can determine what is, if we work on it. See, this is part two, the work. What is the false self? What is the genuine self? And it does start, maybe end with our thoughts. And there's been so many thoughts that I've had recently and I've been doing this for months and months, and I'm sorry I haven't really talked about it, where I'll stop and say that whatever just popped into my head, there's just no way. I used to say that there's no way that's from me. But I think what's better said now is there's no way that's from the genuine self, the true self. And doesn't it seem deep down in your inner knowing that one of the main things to do in this reality is to there's so much noise, there's so much distraction, there's so much confusion about who we really are, that one of the main things to do for the remainder of our lives is simply get in line. And as usual, it's a frequency and a vibration. Get in line with the true self. Now, what happens with most people throughout the course of their lives? Maybe there is an aspect of true self. I don't know when that would most be easily seen, what age, for example, it might come out. But the reality is, or the dark reality is successful in moving people away farther and further away from their true self throughout the course of their lives. And it's probably like a linear relationship on an X and Y graph. Does it go up and down with most people, would you say? That, well, in their 20s, they moved far away from their true self, but then in their 30s and 40s, they came back, and then they lost it again. No, I think throughout most people that fall for every aspect of the trick, people that actually sit down at night and look forward to Anderson Cooper's 360, is that show still, I mean, there is no bigger creature in this world to me than Anderson Cooper. I don't... It's mind-boggling to me as sometimes I think about, what is that entity? What goes through its head? What does it know its role? Anderson Cooper is one of the creepiest things to ever walk the face of the earth. But we'll forget that. The interview I was trying to schedule with him is probably being called off now after he heard me say that, and he is a listener. No. So anybody that sits down to watch Anderson Cooper, over the course of their lives, they're constantly being drawn further and further away from the remnants of true self, whatever may be true self. And is there any aspect of true self that even remains in somebody when the regular person down the road, when they get to 60, 70, 80? They're completely believing in their straw man character and the name in all caps, and they put it right on the. One of my favorite things to talk about of all time is what they put on the damn headstone, the gravestone. They put on, not besides. You could put on loving father, and that's okay. But sometimes about what they did. Wonderful musician, or things they did, hobbies, or corporate. See, I don't know. I don't wander through too many grave sites or corporate. Whatever they might put on the grave site, that's about the status of what the world says that they were, and it's all the false self. Of course, I'm sorry, the examples aren't good, but you know what I mean. What might be put on a headstone or written in a eulogy, whatever that is. That word just came out. I have no idea. So the one of the main goals in life, of course, is, and maybe not every moment of every day, but every day, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times, say, wait a second, that thought, that's not coming from the true self. And then the weird negative thought is a good thing, because it gets you a chance to stop and focus on what would be my interpretation coming from the true self, and to constantly do the opposite of what everybody else does in this world. Align yourself with it. Now, again, is that shadow work? I don't know. That horse shit. I don't know what all that stuff. I would say to these people, talk about, just speak plainly. I'm trying to speak plainly. 10 opportunities a day to more in line with true self. And with most people, that it's so hidden. It's so covered up by the false world and the ego. And I'm a corporate vice president. What they say you are. It's so covered up that the person, they believe in what the world says they are. It absolutely relates to the straw man and the corporate fiction, the name in all caps. So we don't have to be perfect. Matt, how do we know if we reached, in terms of realigning with our true selves, if we reached that threshold we need to reach? There's no threshold. There's no score keeping. In this limited form and limited incarnation, we're always going to be never going to get it done totally, of course. Every day the world shows us how low we are here, and oh boy, I don't go as far as what Critical Drinker does. I don't do much of that. I'm sorry I even did that. I don't do much of that. Like these movie reviewers all have to go down that scatological, disgusting route. So in this example, I'm trying to talk about one of the goals in life. They're talking about friggin' movie reviews. So I have to demonstrate this is a low experience, and it's meant to be a low experience. Embrace the low experience. It doesn't mean go seek more of it. Oh, embrace the low experience. I'm going to go out to that part of the red light district I've never been, and I'm going to try to have unprotected. No, I mean, we do the best we can, but while we're here in this, we're low. Okay, you've heard me say this a million times. Embrace the low, because likely where we came from, or ultimately what we are, is not anywhere like this. It's not low like this. So this is meant to be experienced. We're not going to transcend into some being of light and fly up into the air here. We were born very low, and we will die very low. And in the middle, we're very low. It's okay. This is not the place to transcend or to become a being of 4D. This is not the place to be enlightened. Bullshit. All this enlightenment talk, you can get a clue as to little things we can do here. What's the true self? What would the true self say? That thought of, what I'm thinking about my cousin right now, I mean, in terms of me, my hatred or my petty little jealousies, or this isn't the true self. There's this, why would I care about my cousin's promotion or whatever it may be? There's millions of these examples. That's not the true. Stop. Say that's not the true self. No. Philemon? Where does this shit come from? And then hopefully, an imaginary character won't appear and tell you, and align with the true. Okay. How exactly do we do that? I don't know. Whenever it's not you, deep down know the true, authentic you, versus what the weird ass thought or what society wants you to be. I don't know. Well, I guess I'll continue to, if there's any little techniques or tips, I just catch myself doing things and say there's no way that's me or the true me. And the dark reality is very simple. It's to pull you as far away from what's considered true self as possible. For some reason, the movie Bagger Vance popped up. I like golf movies, the greatest game ever played. I like that. I think Bagger Vance is about life. It's not about golf. It's about life. And he the one part that really is they're out at night out walking the golf course, and the little kid that's going to be the second caddy says, "Can Captain Juna win?" Matt Damon, "Can Captain Juna win?" Whatever was it, Howdy, that identified that as it's some sort of parallel to the Bhagavad Gita. That's Arjuna or something from the Bhagavad. I mean, there's a lot of real hardcore, amazing symbolism in Bagger Vance. Can Captain Juna win? And if he can find his authentic swing, is one inside of it's incredible scene at night. Bagger Vance is one true authentic swing. Inside all of us is that one pure thing. And they have to present it like golf, of course. One pure swing instead of this instructor saying, "Well, keep the elbow in here," and just no. What is the one? If he can find his one true authentic swing, we can translate that to what we're talking about here. Can we quote win if we can find our one true authentic, forget swing, or one true authentic self? Take that scene from Bagger Vance and just insert one true authentic self. In terms of, there's in that scene, he says, when he's standing over the balls, he's not thinking of all the wouldas and couldas and shouldas. He's not thinking of all the bad hit shots he's hit or whatever. Okay. I just like that parallel in what they do in that movie. I think it's excellent. Anyway, so is that shadow work? I don't know. I don't know what that is. I don't care. We keep it as simple as possible. And, most people will be pulled away from anything that remains as authenticity. They'll be pulled away over the course of their lifetime, and they won't even at the end of their life they won't even recognize the authentic parts of them, versus what they were given a key to the city, and the not milk praised them over here. And they can look at their bank account and be so pleased of how they accomplish things. And, absolutely almost everybody in this world is pulled away from their authentic self. And we don't have to go, have to be perfect. No matter how hard we work on this, the last month of our life or the last year of our life, there's going to be still some weird thoughts, but we will have really pulled ourselves back into alignment with I'll adopt from Bagger fans, one true authentic swing, one true authentic self. And if this resonates with you, that this is something we should be working on for our entire lives, then this is really bad for the prison planet. People, oh, it's a prison planet, recycling trap. You have almost no chance. The archonic beings are coming at death, and well, if this is why would one try to work over the course of their lifetime on focusing on bringing out the authentic self if this is a prison planet recycling system? It'd be nothing to work on. It's a prison planet recycling system, right? I mean, it's just that if it's a prison planet recycling system, archonic beings come back, go into another body. Well, there's no point in what I'm saying. What I'm saying can't have any merit. What does your inner knowing tell you? Does your inner knowing tell you that what I'm saying has merit? Does your inner knowing tell you that it's obvious that one of the major tricks of this reality, which plays a million tricks a second on the population, one of the tricks is to pull you away? I mean, this is just obvious, of course, to everybody listening to this, to pull you away over the course of your lifetime from authentic self. Of course it is. Of course, that might be the main part of its trick. Y'all can resonate. Your inner knowing tells you that. Well, then, how can this be a prison planet if your inner knowing tells you that's what we're here to work on? He's going to say it. School. Oh my God, it's a school. We can actually learn something. We can actually try to align with authentic self. Oh, it's a school. It could be a school. You can actually learn. We're actually here to do things like this. No, I'm not watching this guy, Matt. Oh, okay, shit. 16 some minutes. Let's hope this recorded. Sometimes it doesn't. Yeah, it recorded. And noticing myself in this box. People in the last video, I thought they would make a comment. Typically, Matt, what's this hat you're wearing? What's this symbol? This hat was here. You get a good look at it. Go ahead, get it out of your system. This hat was sent to me by the Thaddeus clan about 3 years ago. And I did go back and forth with him, and I said, people are some idiot's gonna comment about the symbol, and what does it mean? And he really didn't say what it meant, and I trust them anyway. But do you think I would care one bit, or you should care one bit about about a symbol on a hat? Like Matt, it could be dark, it could be sigil, Matt. Who cares? The hat's warm, and you're gonna let that affect you, or who cares? Matt, well, don't put it over your third eye. I'm going to adjust it, put it right over top of my third eye. Who gives a shit? You think there's some symbol's going to work on me? No, I don't think so, Joel. And that's from Risky Business. That's not Joel the Higher Self. Right? What do you think this means? Thaddeus, at this point, you guys should know what the symbol means. Send me an explanation, because it's amazing I didn't get some horseshit comment in the last video. I'll get it in this one, though. I knew this guy, Matt, couldn't be trusted. Look at a symbol on his hat. Anyway, let's get back to what I was saying, which was what? I have no idea. About people that, this is a prison planet. There's a recycling trap, archonic beings. You have almost no chance. 99 point whatever percent we're going to recycle back in a body. So if that's the case, and this is a prison planet, I was saying, all of what I've been saying in this video, this doesn't help matters. It's all bullshit. It's all for nothing. It's all, there's no, if this is a recycling center in a prison planet, there's no point in working on filtering out what's true authentic self versus what is the society feeds into everybody about the false self. There'd be no point in even doing any exercise or anything that I mentioned in the first part of this video. But here's the problem for those that just push prison planet, a recycling trap. Here's the problem. All the old guard, almost all of you watching this, your inner knowing, not that we even need to go to our inner knowing to see who's right about this, but 100% that the trick of the dark reality, one of its main tricks, if not the biggest trick, is to pull you away from true self. What do you think the point of the straw man is in all caps? All that stuff that's on the gravestone, the headstones, so what everybody believes they are the false self, the part that's celebrated at a party or might be given the key to the city or something like that. By the way, if you're ever offered the key to the city, you've really screwed up in life. If you're ever offered a major Not-Nelk prize or award like a Nobel Prize or anything, or a New York Times bestseller, you've really screwed up. If the Not-Nelk is rewarding you in any way, you've really screwed up. In fact, that's why I'm quite pleased. My subscriber numbers, the last time I looked yesterday, was negative 18 for 28 days. It's back into negative territory, and I'm very proud and pleased about that. I don't want to go to no 100. It was for a while. It was plus 40 for 20. It gives you a 28-day period. Plus 40, plus 50, plus 20, plus. It was in the plus. It had gone up a few hundred over the last 7 years, but now it's back to the negative, and it was very rewarding for me to see that. I don't want to be, because that means obviously there's nothing that ever comes out of my mouth here that's ever promoted. It's just whatever you might see. You might say, your cousin's ready to come around to these sorts of thoughts, and maybe you'll send the link to somebody. That's the only way I would get any new subscribers. I doubt this platform has shown my video off to the side to anybody in 8 to 10 years that doesn't already believe everything we already believe. So this to me is the opposite of getting a key to the city. It's now, Matt, if if it's the opposite, well, these people over here that did its bidding are rewarded. You serve your master well, and you'll be rewarded. You serve your not milk well. I will take you to Jabba now. The opposite, okay, is negative. It was negative 18 subscribers, I think. Well, Matt, why doesn't it just get rid of you if it doesn't like what you're saying, or what you're saying could be dangerous to it? There are rules here, maybe. I don't know. Again, we talk about this all the time. Why am I still here? Michael, who passed, is no longer with us, who was incredibly insightful and profound in his thinking. I've said this many times, says there's somebody somewhere, Matt, in Not Nilk, that either uses you as a gauge as to what your group is seeing in reality, or how you're seeing through certain parts of the trick, or somebody literally just has a few laughs at your expense or with you in terms of some of your dumbass jokes or something. There's somebody important that kind of likes tuning in from time to time. That's what Michael said. And about a lot of things, Michael knew more than I did. So it could be. And if that's that person that's keeping me, could you send me no, I don't want, I can't, no, I don't, I was going to say send me what kind of jokes you like so I can make sure I cater to those sorts of jokes. No, I can't. It's just the rules here. I cannot interact with Not Nilk. I cannot. No, I don't want no invitation and no limo to pull up, and those invitation to an Eyes Wide Shut party. But I got to go get my own costume and mask. Go at 3 a.m. and are you open? I'd like to, like Tom Cruise, come in. I need a costume and mask for this part. I know I can't. Part of the rules here is I can't. Like if Mr. Beeks wanted to meet me in the orange section of the parking garage, and Matt, let me show you how the dark part of the reality works, or what Not Nilk is, or who Jared Kushner really reports to. I see. No, you cannot. It just seems like instinctively one of the rules here. Cannot do that. Cannot take that bait. As fascinating would it be to me, if we book us into the room, book like me, Jared, me and Greg with Jared, and he was somehow bound by his demon master or something to answer. They put him in a pentagram or something. He was bound to answer my questions. I wouldn't be casting any spells. Some demon master or something. So that was it Maria that sent me Mr. Norrell and Mr. Strange, Mr. Norrell. We're going to talk about that. That's about magic in England. It's interesting. It's interesting. But that's the type of magician or spellcaster that would put somebody in a pentagram. There's some evil demon that popped up in the first episode. Right now it's interesting. Mr. Strange and Mr. Norrell, a BBC series, which is on Amazon now. No, if Jared had to answer my questions, I'd love to ask him. Who's really running things here? And you know what I'm going to say. He could give me a lot of information that would be very interesting. But you know what I'm going to say. Even he or some high-level handler, they wouldn't even know what you would expect them to know, in my opinion. They're such role players. Like most presidents of the United States believed they were the president of the United States. That didn't make a lot of sense to anybody new. Almost everybody here, in my opinion, believes in their role. Like Jared might say, this guy's out of his mind. I don't report to anybody. I'm not Nook. I'm serving an evil frequency here. Get rid of this guy. What'd you say her name was? Matt? Get him out of here. This nut. Who let him in here? Most of them wouldn't know what we're talking about. Well, that Matt, then you have to keep on the table. You don't know what you're talking about. Sure, I'll keep that on the table. But I believe I do, and we do. And again, only 50% of what comes out of my mouth is my own. The 45% comes from you, 5% from movies. 50% is the 50% is that's mine is from movies. The other 50% comes from you, people like Michael, everything that's been shared with me, and I'm good at building it into our understanding of reality and expressing it to you in a way that most people can understand. The first grade truther through the fifth grade truther believes everybody's in on it. And we know now, as you become a graduate level truther, that this is a supernatural world, a mystical place. It wants you to figure it out. If you go try to figure it out, you're falling for the biggest or one of the biggest aspects of its trick. You can't figure it out. It's not meant to be figured out. Even something as rudimentary to many of us as a mall event or a school event or a bang bang at this junior high school or whatever it may be, or one of the main events, the first grade truther or the third, fifth grade truther, we see the event, we see the absurd nature of it, which are many cases are mistakes on purpose. I mean, think about that, to actually draw us in, our type, mistakes on purpose. Yeah, I'm going to do it for 10 seconds one more time because it's the ultimate mistake on purpose. I'm not just looking for ways to add this into my presentation. It keeps coming up. I'm one of the parents. Sorry to keep doing that, but this is very appropriate. It's a mistake on purpose. They didn't need to have him go to a podium. It was meant to draw all of us in. If anybody's new here, so they made mistakes on purpose to highlight or to accentuate how absurd the event was. Yes, absolutely, 100%. Now, if you went to it's a supernatural realm. If you could talk to all the police commissioners and all the people involved, and you said, "Who planned that?" They would, in my opinion, they wouldn't know what you're talking about. I believe. See, the first grade truther says, or through fifth grade, everybody's in on it. When we saw that scene around the school parking lot of just thousands of people just walking around in groups of state police walking here and up into the woods, and they all were in on it, Matt. They all had to be. No. It's not how this reality works at a fundamental metaphysical level. Almost everybody here believes in what they're doing, believes in their role. Matt, it was obviously such a cake in a lake bullshit event. They would know. I don't know how the reality pulls all this off. Okay, that we'll maybe try to ponder that some other time. But we know now 100% that what the first grade truther says. Everybody's in the know. That everybody's paid and threatened, and all these witnesses, they all know it didn't happen, and they're all paid, and all the police chiefs know, and all the responders know, and no, it's not possible. Matt, well, what's your answer then, Mr. Weezer? What's your answer then, Mr. Genius? I don't have one, other than this is a supernatural realm, and there are millions of things going on a day that we'll never understand while we're in the body. I think at some point, whatever we will become, whether that be the moment of death or I think all the information will come back, and the much more powerful being, what we really are versus the low self here, and we'll say, oh, is that what that reality was? I see exactly how it worked now. I could see exactly why I was fooled. Just again, explain. This is one of my old analogies, just popped in, one of my favorites. Explain the predicament that fish in a fish tank are in. Cichlids. I used to keep South American and African cichlids back in the day when I was at Penn State and a few years after I graduated. And you can't keep South American cichlids with African. You have to keep them in separate tanks. Explain to the fish, the smartest one I've ever had was an Oscar, without a doubt. It knew who you were, and it would come to the glass, and the Africans were stupid. Those fish just were very, very aggressive, very brutal. They wouldn't never warm up to you like a koi fish, which is a type of carp. It will actually let its master pet it in the pond sometime. I mean, so an Oscar was like, man, we don't give a shit about this. Okay, explain, assuming it had a bit of intelligence, the Oscar. Let me explain to it your predicament, Mr. Oscar. You're in a tank, okay? You know I'm your master. Yeah, it shakes his head. You're in a tank, and this isn't. You think this is the whole world, the tank you're in. You think this is the universe, and there's something not far from here called the Atlantic Ocean or the Pacific Ocean, and it's how much bigger? The Oscar says to me, how much bigger than the tank is it? Trillions of times bigger. I don't know, but you know it would be something along that line. Oh, and it would say, "Come on." So I'm in this. This is not all there is to me. There's something that's trillions of times larger. They wouldn't. The fish in the fish tank would never get it. We're the fish in the fish tank. Literally, we're not much from an intelligence standpoint. While we're here in this low body, we're not that much different. And people expect to have everything figured out, and no, this place is not to be figured out. We'll probably understand it completely at the moment of death. So is that what it was? Oh, it makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense why I'd understand any bit of it. But going back to the reason I'm putting forth this example, you think that because that it has to fit inside your reality bookends. So every single EMT, first responder, fireman, police, principal of the school, everybody has to know it was all cake in a lake event. No. Anyway, how did I get involved in this? I got to collect my thoughts. I don't even know. I guess I should just summarize the first section so we could go on to other things. There's no doubt in my mind that the main trick, or one of the main tricks of this entire reality, of course, is to pull us away from true self. One true authentic swing, one true authentic self, whatever that means to you. And it's not just our thoughts and the strange things that pop into our head, but that is one of the that's one of the main giveaways, in my opinion, of some of the thoughts are not our own, and where does it come from, and what does my true authentic self really want to think about this situation, or what I should do here, or what I should do there. So because once again it's working through its trick, it's working so hard throughout the course of your entire life to get you to fall for the aspects of its trick that gets you to believe it is something you are something that you're not, then again we find ourselves right back at the same sentence, right back with the same conclusions. And regarding again the prison planet thing, I bet in terms of what I was saying about how it's working through, it's putting thousands and thousands of different permutations of its trick onto somebody throughout the course of its lifetime. When I say a million things a second, that's cumulative across the entire population. It might be a billion tricks a second if it's cumulative across the entire population. What's it doing? Why is it trying to get billions of people? Let's not get into who might be real here and who might not be part of the 144,000. Why is it doing all this on a population? Here we go again. If it's a prison planet, if it has us, it's just simple. The light trap is perfect. Why would it care about moving somebody away from its true self? Because the only thing I guess somebody could say if they were taking the Billy Madison podium against me, well, Matt, that's how it feeds. It needs you to put forth, become a certain factory of negative emotion or hubris or whatever. That's how it feeds through its loosh. It has to get you becoming a dispenser of its frequency so it can eat. Okay. Is that it though? Is that all that's happening here is simply so it can feed? No. I mean, it feeds, that is its reward, its remuneration, in my opinion, but that's not what the reality was designed for. And yes, to me, we did sign up for this. Okay? If it's a prison planet, you didn't. You were tricked to come in here. Hey, Lefty, we'll do Lefty from Sesame Street. We got to get back and do more Lefty. Some sort of demonic entity or whatever. You're a real powerful spiritual being wherever. Hey, Bub. Hey, come here, Bub. Remember he did this to Ernie. He got Ernie to buy air. You want to buy some air? So he got Ernie to buy air for 5 cents. And he didn't even give him the jar. Remember, he just dumped. Ernie went, oh, go. He put his hands on, air comes. Oh, he just dumped the air out. He didn't give him the jar for 5 cents. That's what happened to us, I guess. Hey, Bub, you want You want to check this place out? Want to come in here? And my little, he pulled out like a box like from Hellraiser. You want to go in this thing here? Oh yeah, Earth. Oh yeah. Do I have to pay any? It's free. Just go in here. You really think? You really? Do you think? What does your inner knowing tell you? What does your heart tell you, Jerry Maguire? Does your heart tell you, or your inner knowing tell you that before you were in this place, or after, or what you are outside of this place? Does your heart tell you and your inner knowing tell you that it's more powerful or less powerful than the being that's, I don't want to put a thought in your head or sway your answer, the being that sits here, that me sitting here or you sitting there, which is more powerful or knows more about the timeless being that's existed, all we can understand is years, existed for trillions and trillions of years, or you here? Matt, don't do the Davenport condescending thing. I don't have to. Before you were born, that's right, you were probably much more knowing and more powerful, and so that being got tricked to come into a freaking into the Hellraiser cube. What? I doubt it. Sitting here for a minute thinking about something I said, think, well, the timeless being, the spiritual being, must be 1 billion times greater than what we are here in every single way. But I thought, well, maybe not in every single way. Maybe we were too gullible. I'm still thinking we agreed to be here. We weren't tricked to be here. We're not trapped to be here. This is a learning experience. But maybe we were too gullible. Maybe, we were too trusting, too pure. I don't know. And at some point, we said, you spirits need to learn about the nature of a nasty trick. And maybe we didn't even know what that was. Well, what's that? No one would ever play a trick. No one would ever try to say something to me that wasn't best for me. Maybe we were too pure. That's a possibility. I bet that doesn't help. I bet that's resonating with your inner knowing a bit. For me, it is. Maybe we were too pure. A trick, did some sort of evil pop up in this spiritual universe that wasn't there before? Who knows? I mean, who knows? But in order to protect ourselves, we spirits, we need to send an aspect of ourselves or whatever, into this place where all you're going to do is be tricked, and you're going to at some point eventually be learned about you're going to learn about the nature of the trick. You're going to learn how to see through it and overcome it. And again, the spiritual being, maybe what we were saying, well, why would I need to learn about that? There's nobody that would ever approach me that doesn't want the best for me, or maybe too trusting. Who knows? Too gullible. And no, you need, buddy, you need Earth. And well, what's going to happen there? Oh, just hundreds of millions of hundreds and millions of different permutations of a trick that's going to get you all fucked up. It's going to get you 1,000 miles away from your true self. It's going to get you to covet this and that, and covet a hard-on, and all this the lust and jealousy and hatred. And Greg had a road rage. Greg had a road rage incident with two good old boys. It was very close to being very ugly. I'll give Greg the lecture. Greg, okay, we're in our 50s now. I know you were tough-ass, hardcore pipe hitting, but, just drive on. We need to learn lessons here. Be the bigger person. Yeah, you too younger, a truck, whatever, you're having this, he's in his pickup truck, they're in theirs, but too younger, let's just say, good old boys, white blanks, good old boys, and Greg, don't pull over, okay? Let's become the bigger person. Because I care about him. I don't want, everybody's concealed carrying. It's not worth it. Just drive on. Gave him a lecture. Said, you don't need to prove your manhood anymore. We're in our 50s. We're not 25. So the whole world, that's part of the trick. Where he's saying, I've got to be a man. I'm going to pull over. That's the trick. There's millions of, okay. Maybe we're too gullible. And he says, you're going to, this thing you're going to go into, and eventually, a few of you, a very small percentage, most people will go cradle to grave, falling for every aspect of the trick. And then they'll put what the trick told them they were on their headstone. They go that far? They fell for it their entire lives, and then they put it on the headstone, which is like an exclamation point on a false life? Yes. They put an exclamation point on a false life. And I was going to say, and the rich people build big mausoleums, but that's something separate. I love talking about that issue. That's the sequential incarnation. That's the not nilk high level minions that, in my opinion, know their role here to a greater degree. We come in Tommy, of course, the deaf, dumb, and blind kid. They always have to, those that are going to play the role of the sequential or whatever Melvin is, whatever Melvin is of the Belinda and Melvin P. Gates Foundation, they always have to build big monuments to themselves, even putting their names on skyscrapers and bridges and things like that. It's just something the sequential incarnation needs to do, and we'll talk about why they might need to do that some other time, but that's not really the same thing. Somebody that's just a regular person that's tricked might put what they were in their corporate life on their headstone. So they're tricked, not actually, the end. The trick doesn't even stop at the moment of death. It extends to the damn granite gravestone that they were overcharged $10,000 to buy. Anyway, so we might have been too gullible, and maybe, maybe you don't get out of here until you can see through the trick. But then I don't like where this is going, because it gets back to what I said 10 years ago, where I said this is completely wrong. 8 years ago, I said, okay, we've seen through the trick, we've won. And I told you many times that we did see through the trick about 8 years ago, almost every aspect of it. And I thought, okay, that's it, we've won. And then I thought, no, that's just part one. Seeing part two, the work, aligning with true self, doing, understanding and realizing the reasons we came here. What does my spiritual self need out of this incarnation? All the different aspects of part two, the work, which may be different for you than it is for me. But now I'm kind of returning to, well, one of the main, but I'm not saying this is everything, just seeing through the trick. I'm just reiterating that is a big part of going through this reality. And it was dedicated as just part one, was just the whole part one was seeing through the trick. Almost everybody that's ever lived has never gotten out of part one. Almost everybody that has ever lived, in my opinion, I can only, read about what the perceptions may have been in the 1700s or 1800s. Maybe it was different, so maybe I shouldn't say such things in such generalities. But if people are like they are today, and they were like they are today in the past, then almost everybody that's ever lived has not been able to see through the trick. But that's not even said in the right way. They weren't even, it's not like they tried their whole life to see through the trick. And we were able to see that this school event was bullshit, and they tried and they couldn't do it. They're not even trying to see. To them, there's no trick. A man or woman on the street, do you see through the trick? What was on the news last night? You couldn't see that? You couldn't tell that was all bullshit? What are you talking? Get this guy away from me. What are you talking about? Are you an escapee from an asylum or something? They're not even trying to see through the trick. They sit down and get the popcorn ready, honey. Anderson Cooper's coming on. Oh, isn't he cool? Anderson Cooper, what a creep. Get that popcorn going. They still have the Jiffy Pop. Remember that shit? You push it back and forth across the burner, and it would always burn. You'd open up. Ah, fuck, it's burned again. It smell the whole house of it. It's burnt shit. Remember that? Now it's just hers in a bag is just the best. Or in that blue bag, hers, and you don't need to pop it. Sorry. You sit down and watch Anderson Cooper. They think it's all. They're not even think it's all real. They're not even trying. People aren't even trying to see through the trick. So, which means if by that metric, Matt, they may have a lot of go-arounds here. They might have a lot of lifetimes, or put in a different way. I think it is I like the way Tony put it with the simultaneous incarnation more than, it's very rudimentary for someone that says recycle, trap, or reincarnation, because I don't like the way that's worded. It assumes this is all we are. Every bit of spirit and soul is here, right with me, and I'm going to recycle. And, I like that it makes more sense what Tony said, where there's a spiritual aspect of us somewhere. That doesn't help things. And it's put not one at a time, it's put hundreds or maybe even thousands of aspects of itself in different material realities, which you are just one of multiple simultaneous incarnations of higher self or over soul or overlord. I don't like those words, as you know, but that makes more sense to me. And it's not like we'll keep recycling or keep reincarnating until on the 100th reincarnation or the millionth, who knows, then somebody finally starting to see through the trick. So then they can go do part two, the work, what they're supposed to do. How many does it take? How many lifetimes does it take? How many did it take for us? I don't prescribe to the one and done. It doesn't resonate with me in any way. One and done lifetime. That's more in line with a Christian's belief. You don't know shit until you're about 40. And then when you get in your 80s or whatever, you might forget. So there's a 25-year period where you're supposed to do everything, learn everything, and no. Or just, I guess, from a certain evangelical perspective, just put here to praise God. That's it. That's all you got to do. It's just none of that resonates with me. I'm sorry. You want me to come up here and just make things up and tell you what you want to hear? One and done. It doesn't make any sense to me. Whether it be to praise your God or to try to learn something. And at 25, it's like the trash compactor in Star Wars. I'm supposed to learn something in this narrow. It's getting narrower, and now I'm supposed to learn something. Shut down the garbage. C-3PO, shut down the garbage. So that's a Mandela effect for a lot of people. It's not the trash compactor anymore. It's the I forget. Sorry, don't comment. Forget about it. I'm sorry. We're being squeezed. We're supposed to learn everything and do everything in this. It makes more sense that it would take many, many go-arounds. But Tony's is, again, more sense. Not that it's just you and it's all you and then you do it again and it's all you and it's one at a time. Well, simultaneous incarnations. There's no such thing as time. It's not like the next one. It's all happening at the same time, according to what Tony said about the concept of simultaneous incarnations of higher self. There's a simultaneous incarnation of higher self that's fighting the civil war right now. From the perspective of the higher self, time only means something when you're here inside this construct. This doesn't help inside this construct. Somebody could be Zara. Sorry, Zara. I'm sorry, sweetie. One simultaneous incarnation's fighting the civil war. One's you, Matt, sitting here trying to see through the trick. One is a stockbroker trading blips on a screen right now. Is the market open? Yeah, it's too early, but soon it'll be blip, 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 buy, blip, blip, sell, so puts, put option, call options. Oh, up 10,000, down 10,000. Blip, 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 blip. That and you know what Tony said. I don't like to hear it. Matt, the higher self could be learning just as much from that blip operator than it's learning from you. No, that can't be, man. I still don't want to believe that. I'm not bowing down to everything Tony said. I don't want to believe that. I'm seeing through the trick. I'm realigning with true self. I'm doing all the important shadow work, whatever that horse shit is. But so Tony said, no, the higher self, maybe not as much, Matt, but the higher self learns tremendous lessons from all its simultaneous incarnations, even its true fuck-ups, even its heroin junkies. I don't want to believe that. I'm the special one here. You ain't special. You just playing your role, and it's a harder role than most. Because this, according to Tony, there's a simultaneous incarnation of higher selfish. Stockbroker, blip, blip, put options, blip, 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 call, up 10,000. Oh, I'm up 20,000. I go get heroin and blowjobs tonight. Heroin and blowjobs. How could that degenerate be giving the higher self what I'm giving it? Joel, you fuck. I'm the special one down here, not these degenerates. You're not. You're just a little role player like all the others, huh? Enjoy your time here and eat your burger. That's what Joel just said to me. He said, "You've got a lot of pleasures there, Matt. It's breaking down. Of course, it's just about the time it breaks down. You've got a lot of pleasures down there. You know, you ain't been with no woman. Jack yourself off and eat your burger. Okay, that's not a bad night. Sorry. Where were we? Okay, I like I like what Tony puts forth. There's no time; it's all happening at the same time. There's no the next life. It's like the little bit of fallacy reasoning that I said Pete came up with in his email, saying I like most of what he was saying. We better get it done now, Matt, because if we have to reincarnate or recycle again, the next time there could be a renting of the movie Action Jacksonation with Carl Weathers at the moment of birth and some sort of a jab. And that RNA sequence or whatever may actually separate soul and body here from spirit. It may be an actual prison, whatever is injected, and we better get it done now, Matt, because we can't afford to come back. That assumes a linear progression of reincarnation, or linear. And as I said in the video a few back, why would we assume it's linear? Well, that's just, you can sense that's just a rudimentary type of thinking, that time is here for us so we experience it. But if you're outside this construct, or you're a spiritual being, there's no such thing as time. We've talked about it many times, and it's fascinating that if you were like the last conversation before you entered, or before you decided to incarnate, if you were sent off to reform school, Earth, and the other spiritual beings maybe didn't have the balls to go in, you're gonna do what? Are you out of your mind? You're going to Earth? No, man, don't do that. But I don't think they would care. Like they wouldn't be like that, because to me, from the perspective of anything outside of here, we've talked about this a million times, but it's so fascinating to me. You get the sense that if somebody sent me off if I had a spiritual friend, I know it's rudimentary. How else am I supposed to talk about it? Matt, outside here, we're all one. We'll talk about that horseshit some other time. It's not horseshit. Ultimately, we are all one, but there might be 1,000 more layers, or 1,000 more segments, or part of the fractal, or millions of more parts of the fractal before we can think to talk that way. Somebody sends you off, you go in. Hopefully, it's not think of it more like what Bill put in his poster, like a big top Earth, not the cube from Hellraiser. That's not the good way to think of Earth. It's not that. There's always heaven here. It's not, you can get you a burger. It's not that bad. It's not Hellraiser with the damn Cenobites popping up with hooks through the it's not that. Okay, the heaven here can always be found amongst the not milk's propagation of the hell. So it's Bill's big top. You go in, and from the perspective of the spiritual friends that sent you in, you just come right out. No time. In, out, not even in 1 second, in an instant. Very similar to what was expressed in the Star Trek episode, The Inner Light, where Picard lives a whole life. It's just, I talk about it all the time. See The Inner Light, even if you've never seen it. It's just incredible. It's such an incredible episode. Lives an entire lifetime in 15 minutes, but it was beamed into him from a probe. But just as if his wife and his kids on this foreign, all an imaginary experience, but it is real as if he experienced every moment of it. And to him, he did. And that's no different than what we're doing now, in my opinion, from the perspective of anybody that's outside of here. So I know people say, Matt, it's all wishful thinking. Look at this guy, Matt. Wishful thinking. Oh, it's so, the people that say prison planet recycling. Look where Matt's gone with this. Oh, he gets a send off because it's so benign going into Earth, and his little spiritual friends are with him. It's like waving goodbye. It's like waving goodbye to people on the Titanic. Goodbye. You go into Earth. I'll see you soon. It'll be 80 some years from your perspective. It'll be one millionth of a millisecond from my goodbye. And the ticker tapes. And look what Matt's doing. How confused he is. And you should stop listening to this. It's probably a little too nice. I agree. This world is probably harsher than that. But I'm not going to go all the way. I for many reasons. Let's not get into that again. I don't see it as we're so screwed, tricked, trapped. We could be trapped here by our own doing until we get certain things done for the higher self. That's the way Tony always presented it. The higher self can end this game, but if it sent aspects of itself in here, those aspects, like and whatever the other stockbroker and the gardener and all the other aspects of higher self in different countries and different time periods and different races and ethnicities and different experiences, the higher self, those little aspects are extremely important, because the higher self can't do it on its own. It needs those little aspects to get done what they need to get done. And I believe we're getting our little role in the scheme of things. It seems all important now, but it's in the scheme of things, it's probably quite small. Our role, we are getting it done, I believe. Seeing through the trick. How do I align myself with true self? How do I shed off the skin of the false self and the straw man and the noise of what I'm supposed to be? And we are getting it done. Is that enough? I do believe there's an aspect of me that's not here. So higher self, whatever you want to call it, Joel, Okay, do I believe that? Yes. Are we getting it? We're doing about the best as we can, the best that we could from Man on Fire. We're doing the best that we can. We don't have to be perfect. So, I think our aspect is very close to doing what it needs to do here. Now, we'll hire self, according to Tony, need something from the stockbroker. We'll need that stockbroker to stop his heroin and his certain addictions. What does it need from the others? I don't know. We can only control ourselves. And this is if you buy into, what I believe, that we're just a small aspect of something much bigger. But that's my thoughts on that. Either way, I think what we're supposed to do here in terms of the work, part one, seeing through the trick, part two it's similar. Whether you believe what I'm saying about the purpose of this reality is, or how many of us there are, whatever, it doesn't matter. Most of us, you wouldn't be here if you had a complete disagreement with me about the nature of the work of what we're supposed to do here, which starts with seeing through the trick. And it's so funny that the people on the street, they again, it's like, well, I tried to see through the trick, Matt, but I don't think I quite got it done, and I think I might have to do this again. They're not even trying to see through the trick. They think we're crazy even proposing ideas that there may be a trick, that government isn't really there for you, that Anderson Cooper really isn't trying to get to the bottom of the news. That's what's so kind of scary about it. They're not even trying to see through the trick. In fact, it's the opposite, not just belittling us. They're trying to get deeper into the cargo hold of the ship of fools. They're trying to get deeper inside the trick. Think about that. Think about it, man. You and me were the same. Think about it. They're trying to mate with it, to root with it, with the ship of fools. Where they are, they're not satisfied. They want a cabin. They call Vicky up and Captain Stubing. I want a captain deeper in the heart of Am. I want a cabin deeper into the ship of fools. I want to align with the frequency even more. It is, again, this isn't very good argument for the no consequences people. If I was taking a podium against the no consequences people, saying, the fact that it just keeps working overtime to fool people. And when it gets people in the ship of fools at a certain level, is it satisfied? Is it be satisfied from Romeo and Juliet? Good Tybalt, be satisfied. To the name whose name I love as much as my own, be satisfied. I love the Leonardo DiCaprio Romeo and Juliet. I like the Romeo and Juliet Shakespeare, and I can't stand other Shakespeare for some reason. So they just take we'll put our feet up. We've won the not nil. Jared, come in here, get me a cigar. Put their feet up. Jared, get Utah, get me two. It's 10:30, Angelo. That place around the corner is the best meatball subs in Los Angeles. Utah, get me two. Jared, 2 cigars. We've won. These people have all fallen for the trick. There's nothing left for us to do. Does it ever relax? No. Of course not. Never puts its feet up. No consequences, people. That is very strong argument that there's some sort of a consequence for falling for its trick, because it never stops. And as our ship of fools example, it wants people to keep taking their bedding and their linens and their luggage into cabins that's deeper in the heart of the ship of fools. It's never satisfied. Deeper into the heart. Go deeper into Am. I don't care if you have no mouth and you must scream. Go deeper into Am. It never stops. It's relentless. It never lets up. And that I don't think that's a very. If I was arguing with the no consequences people, we're no consequences. If anybody's we're here to learn, have an experience. We in no way can be spiritually harmed. It doesn't matter what we do. It doesn't matter if we just draw pentagrams all day, standing there, try to become little disciples of Abramovich. That just popped into my head. Remember that spirit cooking? Remember that horse shit we fell for? Was that related to? That was right around the time of Pizza Hut, Enemy at the Gates. That was right about the same time. Spirit cook, all to suck us in, guys. If that really was, you think those pictures would get out if that? Come on. So we need to talk about mistakes on purpose again in a video like this very soon. It's just the most fascinating thing of all time. And we can learn so much from that aspect of its trick. All right, guys, let me make sure this is still recording. Yeah, it recorded. hasn't done that to me for a few months now, but it always seems to do it at the right or an inopportune time, whatever that means. I record like a 35-minute segment where I think I'm getting certain points out in a coherent manner, and then just the damn something drops down, but there's no video, and it's just like a circle with a line through it, like, oh, sorry, thanks for coming. Anyway, we're talking about what's her Maria Abramovich? I mean, guys, yeah, I was sucked into it for a little while, just for a little while, and then I tend to come out of it quicker than most, even back in the day when we were fifth or sixth, seventh, eighth grade truthers. You start thinking about things like, well, if this was so secretive, how did the pictures get out? I mean, these rudimentary. It took us years to start thinking about those rudimentary things. I mean, one of the biggest tricks of all time is what the reality or the dark reality or the not milk does to the first, second, third, fourth, and fifth grade truther. It doesn't care one bit if somebody is going down the path of truth or trying to investigate or question, if it can keep them or get them stuck in first through fifth grade. In fact, it's almost preferred from the not milk. That's why it makes its mistakes on purpose. It gets a certain frequency or energy or loosh or something out of the first through fifth grade truth, or it gets something out of them that's a sweet sort of ambrosia, or something that it can't get even from the popcorn crunchers and those that stand behind the yellow tape watching the stars come into the Oscars. So it loves the conspiracy theorist, which is very similar from the not milk's perspective, from like a hardcore conservative, somebody that is like a love of Trump, or somebody that's welded the flags to the back of the pickup truck, or just a lover of these hardcore conservative celebrity pundit types. Like, is Glenn Beck still around? I don't even know who they are. I'm just saying, back in my day, it was Glenn Beck, and it was Rush Limbaugh, and it was Mark Levin, and what did Sean Hannity called him, the great one. I went through all that shit. What year was it? I don't know. Without a doubt, 2006, 7, 8, 9. Even when I started to become a truther, investigate the 7-Eleven submission of the job application that was given to 7-Eleven in 2001, I still was right there with the conservative talk radio, even as I was, which makes no sense. Well, if these people are, I mean, we were so foggy for so many years, even as people trying to break out from the trick, trying to break out from the mold, or, keep opening up the Russian nesting dolls. We were, our logic was so wrong. I mean, even a whole group of people that saw through the 7-Eleven job application, what happened in 2001, that were actively and hardcore supporters of Trump and campaigning for Trump, even into 2016. Well, if Trump was truly working for you, the first thing he would have done, I mean, this is so obvious, and we know that if you never would get to a certain level of politics if you were not a 100% conservative not milk. Trump would have immediately said if anything were real, would have canceled the inauguration, gone and given an emergency White House address saying, we've been collecting all the ways that this government has destroyed rights. We're going to reinstate every bit of where they've destroyed rights, and we're going to prosecute every dastardly deed that's been done, starting with something that, and if anything were real, he'd be very gentle in the way he introduced it, starting with what happened in 2001, and let's just say it wasn't what you people thought it was. I mean, this is ridiculous, I know, but there was a whole segment, again, of people investigating truth that saw through that believed Trump was working for them, or any politician, but they won't ever mention one thing about that, or about the Robin Williams movie with Dustin Hoffman, Captain Hook, which was filmed in Connecticut. They won't mention this ridiculous mall event or this ridiculous school event, or the ridiculous notion of what happened with Mercury, Gemini, and Apollo. They don't. But certain. I mean, even the Republican or the conservative pundits. This is one of the issues. I was watching in 2007, 8, 9 or so, something around there. The Glenn Beck show on Fox was fascinating to me, because the truth it was delivering was real, but to trap you at that lower level. Remember all the shows about George Soros and all the different shell companies he owned, and there's no doubt that this is real. I mean, Soros is the role of Soros in this reality is just to cause chaos and to fund riot events in Ferguson and thing. Of course, so technically, what Glenn Beck was saying was right, but to trap you to think that's the highest level of truth, where you're at that point 100 steps away. But I'm watching this, fascinated, liking Glenn Beck at the time, and but saying why wasn't I more insistent as I was watching that? Why isn't he mentioning anything about what happened in 2001, the 7-Eleven job application? Why isn't he mentioning that the last event presented on the news at a school seemed ridiculous? Why he never goes there? But we just wanted to believe so much. I mean, speak for yourself, Matt. Okay, fine. But I just gave him a pass. And then a few times when we were growing out of it, of course, a few times later, and it came up, the 7-Eleven issue came up with Glenn Beck and some of them in 2009, 10, 11, 12, and they just all scooted around it and you could say, well, they're free frauds. You complete frauds. You won't even, okay. But did I then regret all the time that I spent at the Glenn Beck show when at 5 o'clock at Fox? It was the greatest thing. George Soros and what this dastardly person is up to and what the deep state's up to over here. It's a necessary progression. Wouldn't go back. Absolutely, I wouldn't go back and change it and not watch. An absolute necessary step for most of us. We all came into truth from a different angle, but we didn't. It was kind of we were playing games with ourselves, saying I'm getting a lot of really interesting truth out of this person, but not even really being honest with ourselves right off from the beginning, saying, why aren't they talking about the real big events that people on YouTube can see through, and they can't? And for whatever reason, I don't know, wanted to believe, but then we moved. It's the concept. I'm forgetting the name of the concept myself. Graduated Animal Farm, and we move through. And here, every time it comes up, we have to address it. Well, Matt, you're a graduated animal farm. I'm not, but the difference between, this might not be the final layer. I'll give you that. If you want to call it graduated animal farm. The difference between a graduated animal farm and me, and you'll just have to take my word for it, is Glenn Beck, Rush Limbaugh's final contract was like $250 million or something. And they're multi-millionaires, all these, even the great one, probably even Mark Levin. They're in the middle of media, have shows that are pushed out to millions. Is that what this is? Is that they know their roles? Mark Levin knew there's never going to be a constitutional convention, and as much as we're gonna have the states get together at a constitutional. Can we do that? And can we take back the country? Let's take it. I love you, Mark, the great one. Let's do a constitutional convention. He sucked me in. That didn't sound good. He knew that wasn't going to happen. Rush Limbaugh didn't have all the. They know a lot about their own little bucket. I've talked about this many times. Rush Limbaugh knew deep down that the next election was already decided. Of course he did. But if you want to call this a graduated animal farm, and that to be skeptical is what you should be doing, we've been burned so many times in this reality. For me to come say, you must trust me, is ridiculous. You shouldn't, I guess, then trust me. But the difference is those people I mentioned, whether it be Glenn Beck or whoever, they're frauds because they know their role and they know to protect certain secrets of the state. Of course, they'll never talk about 7-Eleven job application or whatever. And they're rewarded by not milk. Well, Matt, obviously your presentation seems more legit, but that could be part of the trick. If you if you think I'm Joe Rogan, as I've said many times, and this is funny as shit, if you think I've been here at this address since 2002, you ever see me go away for 3 weeks and say I'm taking a vacation in Mallorca? You ever say, Matt? The AI is such. You could be on Mallorca right now, surrounded by boats and hoes. You could be surrounded by beautiful Women, if that's what you prefer, it's okay if you prefer the other. You could be on the Emperor's package at Caesar's Palace right now, man. The AI could put the fake background in. I guess I'll never I'll never be able to convince you, Matt. You have taken the $400,000 vacations. The AI background can put your little room in. You're on boats and hoes, boats and okay. believe whatever you think, but even if that's the case, what I'm saying, starting with the very first section of this presentation about the not know trying to draw you away from your true self, does that resonate with you? Does that in line with your inner knowing? That's all that's important. Who I am is I have to ask you to take my word for it. It's who I say I am is legitimate. I worked for the big insurance company through 2000 to 2002, the real big, and then I worked for the Canadian insurance brokerage to 2007. Then I had my own little brokerage, and business got worse from 2007. It got worse and worse and worse. It basically went out of business because it's a long story. It was the best thing that ever happened to me at the time. What am I going to do? I'm going to have to sell the house. It was all ruined. And, it's the best thing that ever happened to me. Just completely leaving that life behind. And anybody know, how do you pay your bills now? Appreciate the people that, the monthlies and the people that send me something here and there, and I can pay my bills. There are people who have been very kind. I can pay my bills. There's no going to Caesar's Palace at the end of the month. I can pay my bills, and I'm very grateful and fortunate for that, for all of you that have helped me do that. And it's pretty easy to see. I've been here since 2002. Never once hid my face. Never ran an ad on YouTube, by the way. Never, ever. People have estimated, and we all, money makes, you need money in this world. That's not like revolutionary thought. People have kind of told me from time to time what I've left on the table by never taking a penny over 16 years. And it's millions and millions of views over it's a lot. Never taken a penny. At the beginning, well, Matt, you must have been made so much money. No, I would have needed that money. Before you guys helped me out, 3 years I had the old 401k from the insurance company. Needed to take money out with penalty because I just to pay with penalty, of course. So it makes sense. When you need the money the most and you're not 59 and a half, they penalize you. Makes sense. When you really need the money and you really are in a desperate situation, that's when they hit you with a 10% penalty on top of the taxing as regular income. Thanks a lot. Oh boy, this world is. What did somebody left me a comment? The last time I said something about that. They were all proud of themselves. Matt, you should do a little research before you put something like that out. You idiot! It's if you're over 55 and a half or over 55, you can withdraw without penalty. And I replied back saying, no, that's only if you've left your job in less than a year and you left your job for whatever reason after age 55. If you left the insurance world way back when, you got to wait to 59 and a half. No, that was wrong. And you're so proud of yourself. Do some research first, Matt, you jackass. You're horse shit. Do some research before you leave a comment thinking you're some sort of expert. No, that was wrong. No. But I need to tell you, guys, I should tell you, there's nothing left to, but all that's left to do is reflect on what's been done. The beginning of, was it Live Throwing Copper? Great, The Otter Dam, great opening song to that great album. I'll just leave you with a personal story. What happened? It's just funny, guys. If this has been way too long, this is just a funny story. What some people are just so nasty. Some people you run into. Greg had he ran into the two hillbillies on the road, and there was almost a major event. I won't even tell you what that almost escalated into. It was really bad. And Greg, if you're listening, please drive on. And just I'm not going to summarize the opening segment of this video about aligning. Again, align every moment you can. Align this is not my true self that would want something like this. Shed it off like a snake sheds its skin. We don't have to be perfect. Okay, I went with my father to a certain type of doctor's appointment, and he likes me to be there. I record, if there's a change in the drugs, help him out a bit. And we went in, and there was somebody standing back. This story is not related to anything we've talked about. Just a funny story, just to share it with you guys. You want to sit here for 5 more minutes and shoot the shit with me? He was standing back a ways, almost like, was he in line? The counter where they collect the co-pays or not? He was back 6-7 feet, almost like he was like you could. And I said to him, "Are you in line?" Before I tell you what happened, it was one of those things. No, I'm just waiting for the nurse to get me something. Go right ahead. Like, he was back a ways. Like, I've done that at Rocco's. I go to order a slice of pizza or whatever, and somebody's standing back. And, "Are you in line?" "No, I'm just waiting for the pizza's almost. I'm waiting. Go ahead." It's that sort of thing. And I said it nicely, of course. I don't know. Are you in line? Just nice. And it was like, well, of course I'm. It wasn't. It was like the attitude was there, but I'm not sure if he said, "Of course." It was like, "Yes." I don't know what it was, but it was weird. And the person was, he was probably in his early. I'm 55. He was probably in his early 60s. Not in any way threatening or intimidating. I mean, it was just. So I get behind him, and he's seeing the same doctor that my father's going to see. Well, we're both there at the exact same time. I was like, well, I know we were a little early, and then maybe I figured he was a little late, but it's not, I don't want to sit in the waiting room for hours, and you know how it is. I said, "Oh, you're here to see the same," and I leaned in, and he said, "Can't you see that I'm talking to the?" I mean, almost, not. I'm just emphasizing a bit, but it was like that, just nasty. "Can't you see that I was so blown away. What the hell's going on here? And then the little bit of anger. So I don't usually get very angry, as I've said, guys. It takes a lot to get me angry. "Can't you see I'm talking to the nurse?" And he looked at me really. If someone said, "Matt, he had Tourette's, or he had some sort of a." If I knew right off the bat he had some sort of issue, and that wasn't the nature of we weren't a psychologist or psychiatrist or anything like that. I would have, if I thought he was sick or something, I immediately would have backed off. It just seemed like a nasty person. Anyway, so I was kind of, and then so he booked himself in, and again, we're both there at the same time, and I guess he's before us, and we're early, and he kept staring at me as we walked, and this person's not intimidating. I mean, and I'm like, okay, then I'm a little angry. I said, and here comes this, the condescension meter I just had on 2. Could you imagine if I put it to 10? But it was, for a moment, I really did. I said, "You're not a very friendly fellow, are you?" No, that's the little bit inciting to most. And I just found myself saying, "You're not a very friendly fellow, are you?" And I was a little pissed. And of course, that's kind of stupid to say, but it gets under people's skin. I'm very good at times at getting under people's skin, as you can imagine. There's a talent I inherited from my mother. Believe it or not, my dad's not good. My mother's good at this. And he looked at me, and he kind of said something under his breath, like, "If you weren't here with your older father," he looked at me like he was going to try to clock me. It was the weirdest thing in the damn doctor's office. He wasn't intimidating. I mean, this guy. I could have put one hand behind my back, and it was ridiculous. But he almost like moved at me, and he was like, and he said something about you're here with your father. Almost like he was going to clock me. He was going to in the damn waiting room. And so anyway, let me just wrap the story up. And again, if I thought he had a disease or something, I would have been the bigger person. I should have been the bigger person anyway. But it wasn't that. It was just a nastiness that I just. One thing we loathe in this, we do loathe the nastiness. When this nasty streak comes out of certain people, you and I, we don't have much tolerance for it. This world, that's what. If everybody was truly caring about each other, trying to help, man, we don't need this kumbaya shit. It would make life so much better. Anyway, so Dad has to use the restroom, and they, whatever. Some nurse takes him back, and it's just me at this point. Just he's sitting there, and it's just me. And I turned to him, and I just wasn't quite ready to let it go. And I'm not trying to fight with him. Again, it would have been a joke. I put my hand behind my back, and I said, why are you, and it was almost like a genuine interest in why people are so nasty. I said, why are you like that? Why? But then I'm saying it, to him it seems condescending, another way I might be able to say this. Why were you like that? Why you have to be like that? It's just nasty. And it was like a genuine question, but of course he saw it as more like me just trying to egg him on. And he said, he's sitting up and he looks up at me and he goes, "'Cause you're an asshole." Sorry, Zara. It's okay. I'm sorry, sweetie. The story's almost done. "'Cause you're an asshole." And I went, and somebody's saying, Matt, he obviously had Tourette's. I know, I'm aware of, if it was that, I promise I would have never. And that was that. I sat there, and he sat like right over there, and we were the only two in the waiting room until Dad got. It was very uncomfortable, and I just kept saying to myself, okay, this is be the bigger person here, Matt. I mean, this. But anyway, it was just fascinating to me how just there's a lot of people in this world that are just so nasty, and talk about a failed life and there's just no reason to go through life miserable like that. And I don't even know why. Hopefully I didn't just waste your Matt. That's 5 minutes I can't get back. Sorry, I just had to tell you that story. I don't know. The more I think we learn in what we do, I think overall the nicer, the purity, the real self comes out. The self that I drive by somebody on the road or something, and I'm like, I don't want to have to stop, or I've only had to do this a few times, but then I'll look and I'm like, if they're by themselves and it's like, a little old lady, I'm gonna have to stop and help, and like I have somewhere to go and be, but I just have to make sure they're okay. We're all like this, and then I see that okay, there's like a younger person helping them, or there's somebody already there, or they're with somebody. Okay, so I don't have to. No. I had somewhere to be to it, but we feel like I have to. Okay, somebody's pulls over on the road out here, and I've got to go. So you okay? Anyway, we've all but this improving ourselves, aligning ourselves with true self. I mean, this is why we're here, and anyway, I hope that all came out right. I know this is long. Thanks for being here, guys. I'll probably see you guys on Saturday for a midnight reality.